Hi everyone, I've been asked to show you how I remove the redness in newborn babies' skin. This is my first recording, so sorry about the umming and ahhing as I go. So to start with, I'll get right into it. What I do is I clean up any little thing like this with this tool over here, which is the patch tool. It's the third one down. Okay, so I literally circle it, drag it to a nicer spot, and it's removed. So I'm just going to go through and do all these little bits of flaky skin. Some parents prefer that I leave it on, others say no, please clean it up. Things like the gunk around the eye, I'll remove. Now I'm unselecting by pressing Control D as well, so that takes the selection away. So I go here, move it, Control D. Okay. I'll remove this little bit, Control D, whoops, and I will continue to do that until I'm happy that there's nothing too distracting. I do like to leave a little bit just so that it looks natural. I don't like to make the skin completely perfect, but I do like to just make sure there's nothing too distracting. The other thing that I'm using this for is to remove that red patch. So sometimes if you just have a small red patch like a little pimple or a blemish or something like this, you go straight over it and it's gone. So sometimes you don't necessarily need to do all these next layer changing options to remove the red. If they're just very localized like this, that's all you need to do and it's gone. If you're blending it with another color through the skin that you're choosing, it's a good way to do it as well if you don't have too much to do. Okay, get rid of that little bit there. Voila. Okay, so now I'm going to go into working out the red levels. Now this does change depending on the color of the red in the baby's skin, how dark it is, how severe it is, but generally this is how I go. So down here we have adjustment layer. I'm going to click select color. Okay, I'm going to click this top drop down where it's got colors and I'm going to choose reds. Now these levels will always vary depending on what you're trying to achieve. I usually bring the black up and already you can see the redness is disappearing. Sometimes it makes it a little bit too blue. So the opposite of blue in the color wheel is yellow. So you might want to bring, see, you can make it yellow, the red part's more yellow or more blue depending on which way you're sliding this. So sometimes we don't want to make the baby jaundice, so I'll just bring that up a little bit. And the cyan is red, so red plus yellow is a nice orange. So sometimes we can bring it back to a lovely tone by bringing the cyan up a little bit. Okay, so we don't want that all over our image. There are parts of the baby that weren't too red and we've taken it away too much. So now what I do is I click on that white layer over here where it's got selective color. I then press Control I, which inverts it. Now I'm going over here to select my brush tool. Down here I want to press X so that it becomes white, which will show through as I click through. I brush over the baby's face. It will show through the lovely adjustment that we've just made on the areas that we want. Now I always want the brush that's the softest, so hardness is 0. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Depends on the size of your file and the size of the baby again. I'm just bringing this up. A quick key for that is actually to use the brackets on your keyboard. So that will create larger if you go to the right bracket and left to make it smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is lower the opacity to say 40. 43, doesn't really matter. Going to bring this down a little bit and I'm just going to start brushing over the baby's skin. So you can see the difference it's making already. Brush over these little bits here, and just gently, this is all dependent on your photo and the baby's skin tone. But I'm just going to keep doing this until I'm quite happy with where it's going. So already, you can see that it's starting to become more of a creamy skin tone. Now with these eyes, sometimes babies come out a little bit bruised with these red tones in their eyelids, which can be tricky. What I've done is I've reduced the size of my brush and I'm just brushing over that dark red. I've just noticed a little gunky spot just here, so I'm going to go back to my original layer and just use the patch tool to get rid of that, and Control D. Alright, so we've started the process. I'm liking it. What I might do now is I will do it again. See how that's just made it really creamy, really beautiful. Now I might invert that again, and this time I'm just going to bring up my brush, bring up the size of my brush, and just remove the bits of red on the rest of the body that I can see. Now I'm zooming in and out by using the roller on my mouse too, so I can get closer and then zoom out. I like to zoom way out so that I can see how it looks overall. I find sometimes the smaller images give you a better idea of how it's going overall. When I zoom in, you're more localized. Okay, so see how this is all starting to become much creamier, much more the natural state of the skin when they're not hot or they're not rashy from crying. Okay, so I'm liking that so far. Now what I might do is sometimes, not always, this is just an option, sometimes I like to use the photo filter and see what it does to the skin. I do, no, I'm not liking that, so I'm going to delete that layer. I do want to bring the whole brightness of this up a little bit. So I've got the levels adjustment layer. I'm going to just play with these a touch. And just check what I've done. Again, I'm going to zoom out, look at the effect, see if I like it. I don't think that's too bad. Now when I go back into the skin, I'm still seeing obviously all this slight red blotchiness coming through. We can make that as perfect as you like. We can just keep adding selective layers, or another way is we can use the levels adjustment layer. So what we can do is we can go and just lighten it ever so gently. Maybe even just play with these a little bit. It's all dependent on what you're trying to do. Now I'm seeing that it's a little bit too blue. So I'm going to go into red and I want to bring that up just a touch. Just a little. Now I'm going to go to the blue. Remember, blue is the opposite of yellow, and I said before red and yellow make a lovely skin tone. So I'm going to actually pull away the blue. Okay. Maybe too much, I'm not sure. So I'm going back over here. I'm going to invert it and I'm going to brush that onto the baby's face in the real blue areas. Sorry about those noises. Alright, so see how it's just a touch blue, bluey purple tone. I'm just fixing that up. And you know what? I think that I need more. I need a bit more colour there. So it's just a bit too blue for me. So I'm going to pull the blue down Again, making a touch of yellow. Again, we don't want jaundice. We're getting a really lovely tone there. Yeah, I'm liking that. That's quite nice. So now what I'm going to do is what's called dodge and burn. So I'm going to create a new layer that's empty. I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to get black. And I'm going to pull my opacity right down to about, I like it around 10. There's no science about it. I'm going over here to my layer and I'm going to put it on soft light mode. So wherever there are shadows, like here, I'm going to sort of replace them because we've been brightening and brightening and brightening with all these other layers. So I just want to give it a little bit more depth. Okay, so perhaps not there. Just gently in the shadowy areas. Just ever so gently. Just under here. See, it's just a very subtle difference. It just gives the photo a little bit more depth. There we go. Sometimes that can bring back the red. I might try just show you another method as well. Sometimes you can add all these together in one photo, or sometimes you only need one option, one of these methods to reduce the red. I've just gone to hue saturation. I'm going to go from master to reds. This will actually take away the reds, make them more vibrant with the saturation level. Or you can change the lightness. Okay. And another option is you can change the red completely. So I find that another good method sometimes is to just change the red to have a little bit more yellow in it and lighten it. It's not working in this particular image, but sometimes that can work for others. Again, it just depends on the tones of the photo. Alright, so let's have a look here. No, I'm not really. I mean, you can lighten it and then make more saturation, which is another great way to do it. But I don't think I need that for this photo. Let's see what the difference. Actually, I do like that. I do. Okay. It's not perfect yet, but you're getting the idea. I do have to stop this soon so that I'm able to upload it. I don't want it to go on for too long. I was just giving you some methods on reducing the red. Now that I've done a little bit of dodge and burn to create those shadows, this was the image that we started with. Much creamier. I might just double check all the levels that I've got in here, just to see if there's anything. Yeah, that's better. Really beautiful. Now another option, giving you plenty of options today, is to change the color balance. If you are finding that it's still a little too blue, I'm going to change the color balance again using the selective adjustment layer down here. And I do tend to go on the warmer side, so I do like to add a little bit more red. Once we've reduced all the red, I then add it overall so that it's a really creamy pinky tone. So you'll see what I've just done. It's very subtle. But here it's just a little too pink and a little too blue and purple for me on those cheeks. So now I've added it, but I do feel that it's added too much yellow over here and around the head, so I'm going to remove that. So with this selected up here, the color balance, I'm taking my brush, I'm going to press X to make the top layer black. I'm going to paint it off this time, so I'm going to bring that right up to 70%. And I'm just taking away that warmth that I've just added where it was already warm. Probably didn't need it everywhere. So this is just too much yellow there. So I'm just going to take away that. There we go. I'm also going to take it off the blanket. We don't want the blanket turning funny colours either. Okay, so if I show you what we started with and how we've finished. It is a beautiful, beautiful creamy skin tone that is not fake. It is just natural, creamy, and the way the baby would look if it hadn't been hot or crying or have acne, which some babies tend to do quite early. One last step, sometimes if you want to take it a little bit further, is called frequency separation, or I'm not going to go through that right now. I've created my own action. I'm going to flatten this image and I'm going to go and use my frequency separation action. Okay, so now see where it's just a little bit blotchy still? What I can do is I can sort of blend the colours. So before and after. Again, I don't use this very often on babies. It keeps the skin texture, but it blends the colours a little bit that are throughout the skin tones. I feel that it's not really necessary on baby's skin unless it was a really tough acne baby that I've been editing. Otherwise, I do try to leave everything alone. I mean, I've already enhanced the skin. Actually, I'm just noticing here that it's slightly yellow. I'm not overly happy with that, so I'm going to add a bit of red to it again. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to adjustment levels. I'm going to go to color balance, and I'm going to add some red. Now I'm going over to the layer. I'm going to just pop that on top of the frequency separation. There we go. I've got this. So now I'm going to Control I to invert it, and I'm just going to paint it where I need it, on those real yellow areas. Just changing my opacity down to 30, and I've pressed X many times to get the white so that it will show through the mask. Here we go. So there we go. Just clicking where I want a little bit more red and less yellow, just to warm it up. It was more of a, there we go. Let's see the difference. Yeah, much better. So if I go back to here, I can blend all this mottled skin. I've accidentally pressed something there. I'm just going to delete that so it's not confusing. Okay. So this skin tone or this slight mottling on the skin, with frequency separation you can remove it. The foot is still probably slightly too pink along with down here. So again, I will get my color balance sheet out, adjustment level out, color balance. It's quite a pinky purpley red, which means I need to warm it up with some yellow. So I'm going to add yellow, a bit more, and I'm also taking that blue color out with a bit of red. Okay, now obviously that's way too much. I'm going to take that up again. I'm going to press Control I and simply brush it on where I want it. So these pinky tones, again, my opacity is about 30%, so I'm just gently adding it as I want to. If you go to 100%, it's usually too much. See that? Too much. So I like to slowly build upon it until I get to the right color that I'm wanting. Okay. Okay. It's not 100% perfect, but it gives you, that was a little tutorial on how to remove all of that red and even up all the different skin tones from a baby. Their feet from purple, blue, the face can be browny, red, patchy with pimples. But you can see that we've gone from this to a beautiful, creamy, well-lit, exposed correctly baby. Beautiful. If you like this, give me a thumbs up at the bottom underneath the video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will try and bring you some more soon. Thanks for watching.